Okay, so we are going to continue on with Chapter 6, and we're going to talk about the Cornell Method. Now, I should have showed you summary paper in class and how to make summary paper. Summary paper is just going to be your normal lined paper from a piece of notebook or a piece of notebook paper. However, I like to fold mine. You could draw a line, but you're just going to have a wider margin, just like what's shown here. So if we were thinking that this is a piece of paper, we're going to use it just like this. Now, on the left side of our page, this would be our margin. This is called our informal outline. And on the right side, we're going to have our organized thoughts. So when I look at this side of my paper, the right side of my paper is where I'm going to write the bulk of my notes. This is going to be the main part of my notes. So what we were writing up on the board, this would go on the right side of your screen, or right side of your paper, sorry. On the left side then, this is called our recall column. And you will need to know that for the test, the recall column. And that's specifically what it is it's the column that we're going to use for information that we want to recall. So key ideas, questions that we might come up with that we would ask or would be maybe on a test, that would go into our recall column. Now, when we're in our body, I'm going to go back. This side is called our body. Okay, they don't have this labeled on here. But the right side of our notes would be called our body of our notes, and the left side of our notes would be called our recall column. So here are some tips to outlining on our body. We want to write on we want to put our most important ideas close to the margin. So again, I'm going to go back to view this, but our main ideas would be close to this left margin. Then we would indent our supporting ideas to go underneath our main ideas. We want to indicate new details by using a number or a letter or a symbol. You just need to figure out what works best for you. I tend to use like dashes and dots when I'm writing my notes. I might sometimes write letters or numbers. Again, it depends on what my notes consist of. We would want to keep similar items lined up so that those main ideas would be on the same line. And then one suggestion when we're doing our body is to skip lines between our main ideas. This just allows a little extra space. Maybe we realize after we took notes in class that we forgot to add something in. Now we have that extra space that we could go and add that information in at a later time. The other way that we could take notes is called mind mapping. And mind mapping is for those of you that are maybe a little more visual. It might be those of you that like to draw instead of necessarily taking notes the traditional way. It allows us to create a visual of our notes. So in this example, we would want to put our main idea somewhere on our paper, and we would want that to stand out. So here they're putting it more in the middle and with a circle around it. Then from that, we're going to have thoughts that go off of that main idea. We're going to have subtopics that come off that main idea, supporting ideas, supporting information. So it's like we're drawing sections off of that main idea. And then maybe from here, maybe we have our subtopic and we might have drawing other ideas that come off of that subtopic. If we are a sequential learner, and we're going to talk later on what a sequential learner is. A sequential learner is just someone who likes to go in order with their learning. They like to be a little more organized in their learning. So this might look a little messy to them when we think of a sequential learner. The other type of learner that we'll talk about is a random learner. And a random learner, they might be a little more visual, and they also might be kind of all over the place. So they might be talking about one thing and going to the next in the next breath. So a mind map for a random learner might be really easy, but for a sequential learner, it might be a little more difficult. And so for those of you that are sequential, when you're doing a mind map, it might be easier for you to add details in a logical form. And so we might do more of lines instead of circles. We also, sequential learners might like to color code their main ideas and then a different color for their supporting ideas. You might like to add sequential numbers that might help you keep things in order. And some of us might take that mind map that we create and then write it into a sequential outline. And I will show you how to do that because that is one of your assignments, that you will have to take a mind map and turn it into a sequential outline. So here's the summary from chapter 6. We want to make sure that when we're coming to classes or meetings, we want to be prepared to take notes. And so we want to make sure that we have any and all of our tools that we need to take notes. We want to pick out the most important information from a lecture or a meeting to take notes with. So this is where we're going to listen to that teacher for their personality clues and their verbal clues. So listen and watch, I should say. To pick up on those clues that they give. So we don't want to write everything down. We want to just write down what was the most important information. Also, when we're taking notes, we want to simplify things. So try using just keywords. Don't write in full sentences. Remember, you usually are not going to be handing your notes in. Don't worry about grammatical errors. We just want to get down what was the important information that we need to remember. So write in keywords and also use abbreviations. Shorten things up. The biggest thing when we're taking notes is to use your own words. Summarize things into your own words. If we get caught up copying word for word what's up on the screen, we miss that information and we're not really learning that information. We are simply copying that information. So read what's on the screen. Listen and watch your instructor, and from that, then decide what's important and put it into your own words and write it down in your own words. Know some habits, some strategies for effective note-taking habits. We did talk about those in class. Those were the things like dating your paper every day and using only one side of your page. Be aware of those personality and those verbal clues. Remember, you will need to know the 6 personality and the 6 verbal clues for the test. Make sure that your notes are easy to study from and learn from. It's important to remember that you're the only one that's learning and studying from those notes. So whatever works best for you is the best thing to do. You also want to make sure, though, that they're easy to read and easy to understand. Sometimes if you simplify too much, you're going to get back into your notes and not have any idea of what you were trying to say with those notes. So be aware of that when you are simplifying taking notes. Biggest thing to remember, though, when taking notes is that whatever works for you is the most important thing. So we talked about the Cornell Method and we talked about mind mapping. You might do a combination of both, or you might take the Cornell Method and change it a little bit to work more towards your style. Just make sure that you are doing whatever works best for you. This is the end then of chapter 6.